Hello everyone, it's me, Jemi. So today I am wearing my Harry Potter robe. I thought we would start reading Harry Potter and the book, the Tales of Beedle the Bard. So I thought that we would read this together. So today we're just gonna do the introduction and read before the actual story begins. Okay, so this is what the cover looks like. This is what the back of the book looks like. I just found this in my closet. It does say that it is a first edition book. So on the inside, it says that it is translated from ancient runes by Hermione Granger, and the commentary is added by Albus Dumbledore. So they add commentary for wizarding folk and for muggles that wouldn't understand the references to the things the hood doesn't want to stamp. So we're just going to keep that down. So this is what it looks like here. So yes, as you can see, it does say somewhere that first edition book. I bought this about 10 years ago, so there we go. What all the stories look like. So we're just going to read the introduction today. So it says, The Tales of the Beedle the Bard is a collection of stories written for young wizard and witches. They have been popular bedtime readings for centuries, with the results that the Hopping Pot and the Fountain of the Fair Fortune are as familiar to so many students at Hogwarts as Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty to non-Muggle children, or non-magical children as it says. Beedle's stories resemble our fairy tales in many respects. For instance, virtue is usually rewarded and wickedness is punished. However, there is one very obvious difference in Muggle and fairy tale magic men's. To lie at the root of the hero or heroine's trouble, the wicked witch has poisoned the apple, or put the princess into 100 years' sleep, or turned the prince into a hideous beast. In the tales of the Beedle the Bard, on the other hand, we meet heroes and heroines who can perform magic themselves and yet find it just as hard to solve their problems as we do, the non-magical folk. Beedle's stories have helped generations of wizarding parents to explain this painful fact of life to their young children, that magic causes as much trouble as it cures. You know what they say? And once upon a time, they say, magic always comes with a price. Another notable difference between these fables and their Muggle counterparts is that Beedle's witches are much more active in seeking their fortunes than our fairy tale heroines. Asha, Alithda, Amata, and Babbity Rabbity are all the witches who take their fates into their own hands rather than taking a prolonged nap or waiting for someone to return a lost shoe. The exception to this rule is the unnamed maiden from the Warlock's Hairy Heart. Acts more like our idea of a storybook princess, but there is no happily ever after at the end of her tale, unfortunately. Beedle the Bard lived in the 15th century, and much of his life remains shrouded in mystery. We know that he was born in Yorkshire, and only surviving woodcuts show that he had an exceptionally luxuriant beard. Oh, this is very nice. If his stories accurately reflect his opinions, he rather liked Muggles, whom he regarded as ignorant rather than malevolent. He mistrusted dark magic, and he believed that the worst excuses of wizard kind sprang from the all too human trait of cruelty, apathy, or arrogant misapplication of their own talents. The heroes and heroines who triumph in his stories are not those with the most powerful magic, but rather those who demonstrate the most kindness, common sense, and ingenuity. One modern-day wizard who held very similar views was, of course, Professor Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore, Order of Merlin First Class, headmaster at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, supreme mugwump of the International Confederation of Wizards, and chief warlock of the Wizengamot. This similarity of outlook notwithstanding, it was a surprise to discover a set of notes on the tales of the Beedle the Bard among the many papers that Dumbledore had left in his will to the Hogwarts archives. Whether this commentary was written for his own satisfaction or for future publications, we shall never know. However, we have been graciously granted permission by Professor Minerva McGonagall, who is now headmistress of Hogwarts, to print Professor Dumbledore's notes here, alongside a brand new translation of the tales by Hermione Granger. We hope that Professor Dumbledore's insight, which includes observations on wizarding history personnel, reminiscence, and enlightening information on key elements of each story, will help a new generation of both wizarding and muggle readers appreciate the tales of the Beedle the Bard. It is the belief to all who know him personally that Professor Dumbledore would have been delighted to lend his support to this project, given that all royalties are to be donated to the Children's High-Level Group, which works to benefit children in desperate need of a voice. It seems only right to make one small additional comment on Professor Dumbledore's notes. As far as we can tell, the notes were completed around 18 months before the tragic events that took place at the top of the Hogwarts Astronomy Tower. Those familiar with the history of the most recent events of the Wizarding War, everyone who has read all 7 volumes of the life of Harry Potter, for instance, will be aware that Professor Dumbledore reveals a little less than he knows or suspects. The final story in this book, the reasons for any omission lies perhaps in what Dumbledore said about the truth many years ago to his favorite and most famous pupil. It is a beautiful and terrible thing that there should be the beautiful and terrible thing, and should therefore be treated with great caution. Whether we agree with him or not, we can perhaps excuse Professor Dumbledore for wishing to protect future readers from the temptations to which he himself had fallen prey, and for which he paid so terrible a price. Written by J.K. Rowling, and added footnotes reading. A footnote, Professor Dumbledore appears to have been writing for a wizarding audience, so occasionally he may insert an explanation of a term or a fact to have clarification for any Muggle readers, as written by J.K. Rowling. So next time we will read the first story. So, as it says right there, the footnotes. So the next story will be The Tales of the Beedle the Bard, the Wizard, and the Hopping Pot. So I will see you in the next video for the first story. Have a great day. Bye.